Hello everyone, welcome to another video and welcome to this week's Daily Race C Strategy Guide, which is a fairly unusual combination of taking Group 2 machinery to Tokyo Expressway. It's the South Outer Loop configuration, and let's take a closer look at the settings for this one. So here's the settings up on the screen. 13 laps to get round, fuel consumption at ×2, tyre wear at ×8. We only have the racing hard tyre available, so no mandatory tyre for this one unfortunately. Which in terms of strategy is a little bit of a shame. So a little bit of a closer look at the track we're going to be visiting for this daily race C, the South Outer Loop out of the Tokyo Expressway selection. Probably the best track in my opinion out of all the Tokyo tracks. It kind of has a little bit of everything. It's got an enjoyable track to go around, has a fairly decent flow. Tricky chicane that's on the screen here is very important towards your lap time. Quite easy to lose the car, although I must say the Group 2 cars are pretty good through that, over those kind of big yellow sausage curbs that you can see there. So we'll take a little bit of a closer look at that when we get to a lap guide. So moving on to the strategy, we decided to use the 2016 Lexus for this one. We're on the opening lap here, lap 1, and I just want to kind of sort of highlight the opening lap because the tyres certainly at least take a lap to get up to full temperature. So going through this opening section here, which is not quite flat, it's just a little bit of a lift. You will certainly feel the tyres struggling on the opening lap, and as we sort of approach the hairpin for the first time as well, again give yourself a little bit more of a sort of a longer braking distance than you will for a full speed lap. On the opening lap it's very easy to miss that apex there, end up wide and onto the marbles, and then when you try to get onto the power you end up snaking the car for the first 20-30 metres of this long straight that we're heading down here. So this is going to be a critical part of the track as well, the slipstream being as powerful as it is. You're going to have absolutely no chance of defending against a car that's probably going to be in your slipstream down here. If they want to overtake you, then you're going to be pretty much powerless as you come to this right-hander up here. Just because of the sheer length of the straight and of course the power of the slipstream. Come down towards this awkward little chicane we're just mentioning here. You can take quite a lot of the first curb. I'll try and avoid the second curb if you can. That is much more likely to upset the car compared to the first one. And just briefly on fuel, we've got the fuel on the screen there. Fuel is going to be no issue in this one whatsoever. Jumping forward to the halfway point of this run, sort of middle of lap number 7. We are on the no-stop strategy here, the tyre wear only being at ×8 on the hard tyres as well. Group 2 cars, you tend to find cars with more sort of downforce don't wear out the tyres quite as much. Obviously the car's sliding a little bit less, so you tend to find this sort of tyre wear can sort of be a little bit less of an issue when it comes to the high downforce cars. But you can't really see on this the screen there just because I've got red in the paint work of the car. The tyres at this point are absolutely fine. Still possible to set fast slaps at the midpoint, so in terms of tyre wear we're looking pretty good for the no-stop strategy. And we'll jump forward here to lap number 13 at the end. We picked up a half-second penalty on the previous lap for a little bit of a mistake into this chicane here. If you run wide to the right hand side you can pick up a half-second penalty, so do be careful of that. But into the last corner we come, which is flat out even on the tyres as worn as they are now. We're going to come across the finish line and see what kind of lap time we can set. I think a 24.3 might have been our best lap, so we're less than a second off our best lap on the last lap there, even with the worn tyres. So again, you can just see the tyres not been too much of an issue. Finishing time 18:29.6. I do think there's been a second added on to that for the penalty. So moving on to the one-stop strategy, we've actually changed car into the Nissan GTR here. I just wanted to do a little bit of a comparison with them. In terms of lap time, they seem to be very evenly matched. I think my sort of optimal in both cars was very similar. Obviously by the time I now jumped into the GTR I was probably just a little bit more in tune with the track and the combinations, so possibly that's the reason that I've managed to sort of set a slightly faster base lap in the Nissan GTR. But I found them to be very similar. I think the Lexus was a little bit more stable in the chicane, which people might like. Certainly seemed to be less of a problem with the curbs compared to the GTR. But just that's just a sort of personal thought there for myself. But coming towards the pit lane here, let's check out this pit loss. Pretty difficult pit entry, I don't get it quite right there. But in we get, new set of hard tyres selected. And it's a very short pit lane in terms of where you sort of leave the track and then re-enter the track. So I was quite surprised to find that the pit loss was as much as it is. 10.5 seconds for this one, and I think you can see where that's going to go in terms of the strategy. Very, very, very difficult to make up that 10.5 seconds with the fresh tyres. Now the fresh tyres are certainly worth about half a second a lap, but again, there's just not enough laps in the race to make up those 10.5 seconds. Into the last chicane we come here in the Nissan GT-R. You can see we've moved into the 23s in terms of lap time, so maybe even around a second a lap faster towards the last few laps, but again, as we come over the finish line here, you're going to see it's not going to be enough. You do set the fastest lap on the last lap of the race though, so that's nice. So the finishing time 18:35.9. I think we came in at 18:28 for the no stop, so we've not really made a huge dent on that gap. Just moving on to do a little bit of a summary of the strategies here. Got the details for the race at the top of the screen in terms of the fuel multipliers and the tyres available. But in terms of strategy, the non-stop faster than the one-stop by about 4 to 5 seconds, I reckon. Tyres will last the 13 laps without too many issues, although the more you can look after your tyres, the better off you're going to be towards the last few laps. Just be careful coming out like the hairpin once your tyres get a little bit worn. It's quite easy to get on the power just a little bit too early and start wearing those rear tyres out, and that can maybe give you a few more issues towards the end of the race. In terms of the one-stop, it is definitely slower than the non-stop strategy. There's no real reason to run this one unless you really, as I said earlier, shred your tyres. Although I think you'd have to do something extremely strange to your tyres to sort of make the one-stop a faster strategy for you. The one thing I guess the one-stop is beneficial for is if you're interested in setting the fastest lap. Then with the fresh tyres, that should be fairly simple towards the end of the race. So all in all, no two doubts about this one being a non-stop. A little bit of a shame coming on the back of last week's race at Bathurst, which was also a non-strategic race, with being the non-stop. I think this race was crying out for a mandatory hard tyre with the medium tyres available. Obviously quite a big pit loss as well, so we'd have to kind of sort of try and time that pit stop properly to try and get out of traffic, try and find some clean air. But this race is going to be very much characterised by the long straight and the slipstream overtaking you, and of course with it being a sort of barrier circuit, those 1.5 seconds wall collision penalties will come into play as well. But I do have to say a little bit of kudos to Polyphonic Digital, because it is an original setup of race or original combination, certainly in my time in the game, so can't really complain too much about that. So as always, we'll finish the guide with a little bit of a lap. We're in the Nissan GT-R here. We've got the brake balance set to -1. Over the start finish line we come, and it's the last lap of our one-stop run where we set the fastest lap. So braking around about 75 metres. I'm undecided whether to sort of move down to 3rd or 4th for the first corner, just sort of feathering the throttle through these fast sweepers. Just coming a little bit off the throttle here for the left-hander. As soon as you can feel the car's got the grip on the power as much as you can. Do not try to go side by side with another car in that section in the race. It will end with somebody in the wall. So braking maybe around about 110 metres here for the hairpin. Very tricky corner. The Group 2 cars do not like going that slow. Getting on the power is pretty difficult. Obviously the earlier you go on the power, the better you go on the power. You carry that speed all the way down this long straight. Which is not a straight, it's actually just twists all the way down, but it's absolutely full throttle. I didn't actually get a chance to test the 2008 cars at this circuit. I think they'll be mighty down this section, probably reaching around about maybe 182, 183, whereas the sort of 2016 cars are struggling to get into the 180s. Braking at the 50 metre board, or just before the 50 metre board for the fast left-hander. Very, very tricky corner, and we run down towards the chicane. You're looking for the black box just there. I think it's at the 50 metre mark. Clip that first sausage curb, try to avoid the second one, don't run wide or you'll pick up a penalty, and into the last corner, full throttle, no issues with this one, no matter what sort of state your tyres are in. And that is a lap of Tokyo Expressway South Inner Loop, not South Outer Loop, isn't it? Anyway, that is the end of the guide. Hopefully it's been some useful information in there for you. Please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button if you like what we're doing with the channel. And until next time, good luck in your races, hopefully I'll see you out there. And goodbye now. Bye bye.